When you finally stop explaining yourself to people who were never really listening in the first place, you begin to notice something powerful. Silence creates space, and in that space, clarity shows up. Think about how much energy is spent justifying your choices, proving your worth, explaining your side of the story. Every time you do, you're handing over pieces of your peace to people who often don't even deserve that access. And when you stop, when you just sit in that silence, suddenly you start to hear the only voice that really matters, your own. See, clarity doesn't come in the middle of an argument. It doesn't come when you're busy crafting the perfect response or trying to convince someone to understand. Clarity comes in the quiet. It shows up in those moments where you take a step back, close your mouth, and let your mind breathe. That's when you start to notice patterns, red flags, or even blessings you missed because you were too busy talking. Most people think silence is passive, but it's not. Silence is active. It's the choice to stop pouring your energy into noise and start investing it into vision. You begin to see who truly values you and who just values what they can get from you. You begin to see where your boundaries need to be, and you begin to see how much of your stress was self-inflicted by over-explaining and oversharing with the wrong people. The truth is, not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Not everyone has earned the right to know why you make the decisions you make. Some people just want your reasoning so they can poke holes in it, and the more you explain, the more ammunition you hand them. But when you stay quiet, when you simply live your life and let your actions speak for themselves, you remove their power, you take it back. Clarity is freedom. When you're clear, you don't chase approval. You don't need to defend what makes sense to you. You don't waste nights replaying conversations in your head, wishing you'd said it differently. Because clarity tells you, I don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace. I don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting my time, my energy, my sanity. That's a level of freedom you can't buy, and it starts with silence. Silence also reveals what's been hidden inside you. Maybe for years you've drowned out your own instincts by asking everyone else for their opinions. Maybe you've silenced yourself by talking too much. When you stop, you finally hear that gut feeling that's been trying to lead you all along. You realize you already knew the answer. You just needed the space to listen to yourself. And here's the best part. Once clarity shows up, everything else starts falling into place. Because clarity makes decisions easier. It makes relationships clearer. It makes your boundaries stronger. You stop wasting time on people who drain you because you can finally see the difference between someone who respects your silence and someone who resents it. So, don't be afraid to go quiet. Don't be afraid to stop explaining yourself. The people who truly know your heart don't need explanations, and the people who always demand them will never be satisfied anyway. Silence creates the room you need to breathe, to see, to grow. And once you taste that clarity, you'll never go back to the noise again. When you shift your focus back onto yourself, you'll realize just how much strength you've had all along. The problem isn't that you didn't have it. The problem is that you were giving it away, piece by piece, to people who never knew what to do with it. Every time you made someone else's problems bigger than your own, every time you poured into someone who wasn't pouring back, every time you carried burdens that were never yours to carry, you were spending energy that could have been building you. When you focus on yourself, that same energy turns into power. Suddenly the hours you used to spend fixing someone else's mess become hours invested into your growth. The nights you wasted worrying about who likes you, who doesn't, who's staying, who's leaving, that becomes energy you put into your health, your dreams, your future. And here's what happens. You don't just get stronger, you get grounded. You stop needing other people to validate your choices because you already know who you are. You stop needing constant reassurance because you trust your own voice. And that's what inner strength really is. It's not about being tough on the outside, putting up walls, or pretending you don't care. It's about being unshakable on the inside. It's knowing that even if people misunderstand you, even if they walk away, even if they don't approve, you're still solid. Because your worth doesn't move based on their opinion. It's anchored in who you are. Focusing on yourself is not selfish, even though people will try to make you believe it is. The same people who drained you will always call you selfish when you stop feeding them. But there's nothing selfish about taking care of yourself first. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't lift someone else if you're too weak to stand on your own. And the truth is, the stronger you become on the inside, the more valuable you are to the people who truly matter. Think about it. When you're constantly burned out, when you're emotionally exhausted, when you're pulled in a million directions, you don't show up as your best self for anyone. But when you're centered, when you've invested in your own peace, when you've built yourself up from the inside out, you show up differently. You show up present, calm, confident, steady, and people feel that. They respect it, they're drawn to it. Focusing on yourself builds a quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout. You don't have to announce your growth. You don't have to post about it, brag about it, or demand people notice. They will. They'll notice when the things that used to shake you don't anymore. They'll notice when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop reacting, when you stop seeking approval. That's the strength that comes from focus, unspoken, but undeniable. And the beautiful thing is, you'll find that the more you focus inward, the less chaos outside of you even matters. The same things that once stole your peace won't even touch you anymore, because you've built a foundation that can't be moved. You'll find that the strength you've been searching for was never out there. It was always in you. It was just waiting for you to stop giving it away. So if you really want to change your life, stop chasing everything and everyone else. Stop pouring your strength into places where it gets wasted. Put that focus on yourself, because when you do, you won't just survive. You'll stand taller, stronger, and freer than you've ever been before. There's something about silence that unsettles people, not because it's weak, but because it's powerful. When you don't react, when you don't rush to defend yourself, when you don't jump into every argument that comes your way, you create a presence that can't be ignored. Silence commands respect, and it does it without ever having to force anything. Most of the time, people expect a reaction. They expect you to snap back, to argue, to over-explain. They expect you to lose your calm so they can feel like they've won. But when you stay silent, when you remain steady and composed, you take away the one thing they were really after, your energy, and that's where the respect begins, because people quickly realize they can't shake you. They can't control you. They can't pull you into their chaos. It's easy to think that respect comes from being the loudest in the room, the one who always has the last word. But true respect comes from restraint. It comes from the ability to choose your battles, to protect your peace, to understand that not everything deserves your response. And when people see that, when they see you won't be dragged into unnecessary noise, they start to recognize your strength, even if they never admit it out loud. Think about the moments in your life when someone remained calm while everyone else was losing it. Didn't you automatically look to that person as the one in control? That's the effect silence has. It's not passive, it's powerful. It says, I don't need to prove myself here. I don't need to get loud to be heard. I already know who I am, and I won't waste my energy trying to convince you. That's not weakness. That's strength at its highest level. And here's the thing. Silence doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It doesn't mean you don't have boundaries or that you let disrespect slide. It means you don't waste yourself on noise that doesn't matter. It means you respond with action, not arguments. You protect your dignity by not lowering yourself to every petty level. You hold your ground without having to raise your voice. And that quiet, controlled presence is what makes people think twice before trying to test you again. When you stay calm and silent, people start to realize something. They can't get to you the way they thought they could. They can't manipulate you with guilt, bait you into arguments, or drain you with constant demands for attention. That's when the dynamic shifts. That's when respect starts to grow. Not because you demanded it, but because your silence showed it. There's power in letting your actions do the talking. Silence leaves people wondering. It makes them reflect on their own behavior because you didn't give them the reaction they were looking for. It forces them to face themselves instead of distracting themselves with your words, and whether they admit it or not, they feel the weight of that. So don't underestimate the strength in silence. It may feel uncomfortable at first. It may even feel unnatural if you're used to defending yourself all the time. But the more you practice it, the more you'll see how much respect it draws without you having to lift a finger. Because people can argue with your words all day, but they can't argue with your calm, and that calm, steady silence. It will speak louder than anything you could ever say. The moment you start pouring into yourself instead of stretching yourself thin for everyone else, something incredible begins to happen. Life starts to align. Not perfectly, not without struggle, but naturally. Because when you focus inward, the way you carry yourself, the choices you make, the standards you set, all of it begins to shift. And when you shift, the things around you shift too. Alignment isn't about controlling everything. It's not about making people act how you want them to act or forcing situations to go your way. Alignment is about being so clear on who you are and what you value that the rest starts to organize itself around that clarity. You no longer bend yourself to fit into people's expectations. Instead, the right people, the right opportunities, and the right moments begin to line up with you. When you spend your days focused on everyone else, you scatter your energy. You try to be everything to everyone, and in the process, you lose yourself. But when you bring that focus back to you, you become centered, and that centeredness has a gravity to it. It pulls in what matches your peace and pushes away what doesn't. You don't even have to fight it. It happens on its own. Think about how many times you've tried to hold onto something or someone that didn't belong in your life anymore. The harder you tried, the more exhausting it became. That's what happens when you're out of alignment. But when you start focusing inward, you don't chase, you don't beg, you don't force. You simply attract, and what you attract matches the energy you've been building inside yourself. People will notice the difference. They'll see the way you carry yourself, the way you no longer tolerate chaos, the way you no longer explain your worth, and those who truly respect that will rise to meet you there. The ones who can't, they'll fall away, and you won't even feel the need to go after them. That's alignment. It does the filtering for you, and here's the beautiful part. Alignment doesn't just happen in relationships. It happens in every area of your life. Your career starts to make more sense because you stop saying yes to things that drain you. Your health improves because you realize you deserve to feel good in your own body. Your peace deepens because you stop engaging with battles that were never yours to fight. Slowly but surely, the pieces of your life start to fall into place, not because you forced them, but because you focused on yourself first. Alignment is really about integrity. It's about living in a way that matches what you say you want. And the more you focus inward, the more you start aligning your actions with your values. You can't say you want peace, but constantly surround yourself with drama. You can't say you want growth, but spend all your energy fixing people who refuse to change. Alignment asks you to walk the talk. And when you do, the universe, God, life, whatever you believe in, has a way of moving everything else to support that. The truth is, when you're aligned, life feels lighter. You stop pushing so hard against the current. You stop trying to drag people with you who don't want to go. You stop begging things to work that were never meant for you. Instead, you move forward with clarity, strength, and peace. And what's meant for you finds you, because when you focus on yourself, alignment isn't something you chase. It's something you become. Not every situation deserves your words, and not every person deserves your energy. The truth is, silence is more than just clarity or alignment. It's protection. Every time you choose not to react, not to jump in, not to give yourself away, you're protecting the most valuable thing you have, your energy. And that's something too many people spend without ever realizing how expensive it really is. Think about how drained you feel after explaining yourself over and over, after defending your choices to someone who was never going to understand, after engaging in an argument that didn't change anything. That exhaustion isn't from the situation itself, it's from the energy you poured into it. Energy you'll never get back. And if you keep doing that long enough, you wake up one day and realize you've spent yourself on the wrong things, the wrong people, the wrong battles. But when you stay silent, when you choose not to react, you protect that energy. You're telling yourself, my peace costs too much to waste here. You're reminding yourself that not everything is worth your attention. And that's not weakness, it's wisdom, because the strongest people aren't the ones who fight every fight. They're the ones who know which battles are worth stepping into and which ones are better left untouched. Protecting your energy doesn't mean you avoid everything. It doesn't mean you let people disrespect you or walk over you. It means you respond with intention instead of impulse. You don't let someone else's chaos pull you out of your calm. You don't allow their words to dictate your mood. You choose carefully where you place your energy because you know once it's spent, it's gone. And that kind of discipline changes everything. It changes how you carry yourself. When you protect your energy, you don't look desperate for approval. You don't look rattled by gossip. You don't look shaken by criticism. You look steady, and people can feel that. They see that you're not easily moved, and that alone creates a boundary without you ever saying a word. Silence becomes a shield. It protects you not just from other people, but from your own need to always respond, to always fix, to always explain. And here's the thing, when you protect your energy, you begin to notice how much lighter life feels. Suddenly, you're not drained all the time. You're not walking around carrying resentment because you gave too much of yourself away. Instead, you're choosing where to invest your energy. You're putting it into your growth, your healing, your goals, your peace. And that's when everything starts to shift, because what you focus on expands, and when you focus on protecting your energy, you naturally create more of it. People might not understand at first. They might call you distant, cold, or detached. That's because they were used to draining you. They were used to you giving and giving without limits. But the moment you stop, the moment you set that invisible boundary with your silence, they feel it. And whether they like it or not, they have to respect it. Protecting your energy is about remembering that you're not here to fix everyone, you're not here to answer to everyone, and you're not here to fight battles that don't belong to you. You're here to protect your peace, to live with purpose, and to spend your energy on things that actually build you. And the more you practice that, the stronger you become. Because the truth is, silence doesn't just protect your energy, it preserves your power. One of the hardest lessons to learn is that you don't have to force what's meant for you. For so long, we think the only way to make life work is to push harder, hold tighter, explain more, do more, sacrifice more. We chase people who are already walking away. We try to glue back together situations that have already fallen apart. And we wear ourselves out believing that if we just put in enough effort, everything will finally fall into place. But the truth is, the moment you stop forcing and start focusing, things begin to align on their own. When you try to control everything, you create resistance. You hold onto relationships that drain you because you're afraid of letting go. You keep saying yes to things that don't serve you because you're afraid of missing out. You keep explaining yourself because you're afraid of being misunderstood. And all of that forcing keeps you stuck. It keeps you spinning your wheels in the same place, exhausted, frustrated, wondering why nothing seems to change. But when you let go of that need to control, something shifts. You start to see that peace doesn't come from making everything perfect. It comes from releasing what was never yours to carry. It comes from trusting that what's meant for you won't need chasing, won't need begging, won't need constant explaining. It will feel aligned, it will feel natural, and yes, it will require effort, but not desperation. Life has a way of clearing out what no longer belongs when you stop interfering. People will leave, opportunities will fade, doors will close, and instead of fighting to hold on to them, you'll realize that space had to be cleared for better things to enter. You can't receive what's next if your hands are clinging too tightly to what's already gone. That's the beauty of not forcing. You create space for the right things to find you, and the truth is, the right people don't need to be convinced. The right opportunities don't need you to twist yourself into someone you're not. The right moments won't make you question your worth. When you stop forcing and start focusing inward, you naturally attract what aligns with you. And what doesn't, it simply falls away without you having to chase it out. This doesn't mean life suddenly gets easy. It doesn't mean there won't be struggles or setbacks, but it does mean that you won't waste yourself on things that were never going to work anyway. You'll stop pouring energy into proving, fixing, controlling, and start using that energy to grow, to heal, to build, and that shift changes everything. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing peace over pressure. It means choosing trust over fear. It means believing that the right things will hold and the wrong things will fade, and either way, you'll be okay, because you're no longer basing your worth on what stays or what leaves. You're basing it on the strength you've built inside yourself. When you stop forcing, life feels lighter, you breathe easier, you stop chasing what doesn't want to be caught, you stop begging for doors to stay open that were never meant for you to walk through. And slowly, almost without realizing it, you'll look around and see that the things and people around you feel right. They fit, they match, they bring peace instead of chaos. That's when you'll know everything fell into place. Because the moment you stop forcing and focus on yourself, you give life permission to align exactly the way it was always meant to.